Welcome to Part 9. If you have not seen any other parts of this reading of Big Bang Patch crap thing, check out the description down below. You will see a link to other videos, and there will be a link in this video to the previous video. Bullet time will now give you 120% accuracy and avoidability instead of 20% or 20 accuracy and 20 avoidability. Flash Fist will decrease damage by 10% to 260% damage. Somersault Kick will increase to 200% damage to 6 enemies instead of 190% damage to 6 enemies. Double Shot will now do 130% damage each bullet with a maximum range of 380 instead of 110% damage to each bullet. Dash will now increase your speed by 30 and jump plus 20 for 20 seconds instead of plus speed of 20 and jump of 20. Brawler's Knuckle Mastery will now have 50% mastery and 60 accuracy instead of 60% mastery and 20 accuracy. They will learn a new skill called Critical Punch. It will max out at level 10, giving you a 20% critical damage and plus 10% minimum critical damage. The skill HP increase will now give you a plus 20% maximum HP instead of, if level up, 30 more HP, if AP applied, 20 more HP. Backspin Blow will now cost 42 MP and deal 310% damage to 4 enemies instead of 30 MP with 240% damage to 3 enemies. Double Uppercut will cost 30 MP and deal 215% damage each hit instead of 290% damage each hit. Corkscrew Punch will now cost 60 MP instead of 36 MP, dealing 460% damage to each enemy, and will attack up to 6 enemies instead of 420% damage, attacking up to 3 enemies. MP Recovery will now use 10% of your maximum HP and use 60% of that HP to recover MP, 10-second cooldown, instead of using 10% of your maximum HP and use 100% of that HP to recover your MP instead of a 25-second cooldown. Knuckle Booster will now only cost 11 MP instead of 10 MP and 10 HP. Oak Barrel will cost 15 MP instead of 20 MP, and everything else still stays the same. Marauder, wow, should not stay up this late reading. Stun Mastery will now only give you a plus 30% chance of a critical hit instead of a 60% chance and 60% added damage. Energy Charge will now have a max level of 20 instead of a max level of 40. You'll gain 100 avoidability and 20 weapon attack and deal 350% damage when the enemy hits you, and you don't be knocked back for 90% of the time. It'll last for 60 seconds instead of a gain of 20 avoidability, accuracy, and attack when hit. The enemies will hit you. That is worded horribly. And it will last 50 seconds. Crowd Mastery is a new skill you'll be learning with maxing out at level 10. It will give Backspin Blow a 120% damage increase, Double Uppercut a 90% damage increase, and Corkscrew Punch a 150% chance, or 150% damage increase. Energy Blast will now max out at level 20 instead of 30, and you'll hit 4 enemies with 500% damage and stun for 7 seconds at a 50% rate instead of hitting 4 enemies with a 420% damage. Energy Drain will now do 400% damage with a 20% of damage absorbed instead of 360% damage with 20% damage absorbed. Transformation will now transform for 180 seconds. You'll gain 20 weapon attack, 60 physical and magic defense, 40 speed, and 20 jump for 380 seconds. Instead of, for 120 seconds, gaining 40 physical and magical defense, 40 speed, and 20 jump for 480 seconds. So you are gaining 20 weapon attack. Shockwave will now cost 37 MP instead of 38 MP, dealing 600% damage to 6 enemies. Personally, I pay the extra 1 MP to get an extra 100% damage dealt. Lucky Dice is a new skill you'll be learning. It'll max out at level 10. It'll cost 60 MP, and for 180 seconds of duration, you will get an update in the way of what you got to read. It'll throw dice to test your luck. Depending on the result, you will gain a buff. Nothing, physical defense plus 30%, max HP plus 20%, max MP plus 20%, critical rate plus 15%, damage plus 20%, or experience plus 30%. Buccaneer will be getting a new skill called Counterattack, which will max out at level 10 with 40% chance to hit when increase your damage with 15% for 45 seconds. Maple Warrior will now cost 70 MP instead of 60 MP. Surprise there. Dragon Strike will still cost 35 MP. Attack up to 6 enemies with 700% damage instead of 810% damage. Cooldown was slightly longer than after Big Bang. Doesn't say in seconds, that's what it literally says. Energy Orb will now do 780% damage to up to 6 enemies instead of 900% damage up to 6 enemies. Super Transformation will now transform you for 180 seconds and gain 40 weapon attack, 140 physical and magic defense, 40 speed and jump, and 20 jump for 200 seconds instead of transforming for 120 seconds, gaining 60 physical and magical defense, 40 speed, 20 jump, and lasting for 360 seconds. Demolition will now cost 50 MP. It will hit one enemy 8 times with 410% damage instead of 400% damage, ignoring 20% of the enemy's defense. Snatch will now have 570% damage to 6 enemies with a 4-second stun, instead of 600% damage to 6 enemies with no stun. Barrage, I'm way not awake for this. Will now cost 38 MP instead of 35 MP, dealing 362% damage each hit instead of 230% damage each hit. Guess what? Hero's Will not change. Speed Infusion will not change either. Time Leap will now cost 30 MP with a 20-minute cooldown instead of 50 MP. Gun Mastery will now give plus 50% mastery, 60 accuracy, and 200 bullets per slot. Critical Shot will increase the critical chance of why I'm reading that. It will max out at level 20, giving you a 20% critical chance with 10% minimum critical damage. Invisible Shot will shoot 340% damage and will cost 42 MP. Grenade will cost 30 MP, causing 280% damage up to 6 enemies. 8 seconds of damage over time of 70% per second. Gun Booster will now cost 11 MP instead of 10 HP and 10 MP. Blank Shot will cost 25 MP, dealing 280% damage to each enemy. 100% chance to stun for 5 seconds. Wings will max out at level 10 and cost 14 MP. You'll fall slower with a speed of 100 instead of 300. Recoil will cost 24 MP and deal 300% damage. Triple Fire will cost 20 MP and do 210% each bullet with a 350 maximum range. Octopus will cost 26 MP. Summon an octopus for 30 seconds, dealing 300% damage with 10% with 10-second cooldown. Gaviota to bomb enemies will cost 80 MP. Summon this bird for 30 seconds. Attack 700% damage for 5 seconds with a 5-second cooldown.